Welcome everyone to this week's Legends of Be Wealthy. And we do have a legend in the room today. Hi, Kyle.
Good morning, ladies. How are you today?
Doing awesome. How are you?
I am excited to be here. It's a first start of our morning and business morning anyways, and we're ready to rock and roll, as we say.
Well,
So thank
perfect.
you.
So
Thank you for having me. I'm
we
excited.
are we're
Like I
really
just said,
excited to have you. As I mentioned before we went live, you have one of the more exciting business models, business stories, and the way that you have built your what I'll call empire. So I'm really excited for the group to learn more about you and be able to tease out some of the not the tricks, but the strategies and systems that you've used to build the business that you have here today.
awesome. Well, I'm excited to share. And as I always tell everybody, I'm an open book. So I'll just answer whatever you want to ask.
Well, we'll give you a safety word. We'll go with Brett's signature, which is if we ask something uncomfortable, you just say orangutan and we'll move on to the next. No one will even notice.
Perfect. Love it.
Awesome. Well, good deal. So, Kyle, most of the people in the group may not know some of the basics about your business. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're located, what business lines you're in, and a little bit about what you have running on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's quite a bit, and sometimes it can catch up with you. But you got to remember what you're here for and what your bigger picture is. But um, I've been in this business. I'm in Bakersfield, California. We are 2 hours north of Los Angeles, 4 hours south of San Francisco, and 2 hours from the Central Coast. So we are the number two agriculture county in the United States. We're the number one oil producing county in the United States. We produce more oil as a county than the entire state of Oklahoma. So we have a lot of good, hardworking people here. It gets very, very hot in the summer, 105, 110 degrees, and very, very cold in the winter. Our median home price is 365,000. So the California dream is still alive in Kern County, as we say. Um, I've been in this business since I was 18 years old. I got my real estate license the month I graduated high school. Took my classes while I was in high school, and went to work for my parents. So my parents were second generation realtors. I'm a third, and I went to work for them. And in that year, 2006, we started at an independent firm, which has been in business here for 80, 90 years. And Keller Williams came into California. That was back when Keller Williams had maybe 50,000 agents. It
Right.
wasn't a big company. I mean, it was a big company, but it wasn't what it is today. And we got the Bakersfield Market Center launched and grew that up to 150 agents from nothing. And I really learned then from some very smart guys called Paul Morris, who's the original director of Keller Williams, and Sam Raffet, our operating principal, and um, to model people. And Gary Keller always says that book, Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, that the smartest people in the world modeled their business after successful people. So I've never reinvented the wheel. I've just tried to figure out what guys like Mr. Tanner are doing, and what Ben Kinney's doing, and Joe Rothschild, and all the top people around the country. What are they doing? Let's figure out what they're doing and copy them, and just model in a sense, and do what they're doing and try to be as good as they can.
That's awesome. And I think you're exactly right. I would say that is incredibly in alignment with Brett too. His whole philosophy is someone else came before and did this in a really, really great way. How can
Mm-hmm.
we take those systems and models and then duplicate them within our own? Which is part of the reason we do these Legends of Be Wealthy calls, right? It's that we have such a great group in our mastermind of really successful business owners. And so let's learn what they're doing that's working really well and implement them as well in our world. I would say there's many people on this call and watching live on Facebook that are looking at your business, Kyle, and saying, he's come before me. How can I take what he has and build it in my own? So that being said, tell us about your team. Tell us about your retail real estate business.
Yeah, so let me back up there a little bit. We try to do everything in-house, and we've got retail, we have wholesale, we have the lending side, we have the hard money side. We have my wife and I are the majority owners of the escrow company that she runs, which is a pretty substantial sized company here in town. And I also have my construction and engineering license, which I've inherited from my grandfather. So we have land development and building. We're building multifamily apartments right now. So the idea was, if we're going to uh, sell a product and insurance too. We're getting into that. We haven't launched that yet, but if we're going to sell them a home, we might as well make money on the loan. We might as well make money on insurance. We might as well make money on escrow, right? So
Yeah.
that's what we do. And I didn't come up with that. I'm just following the models that have been set before me. But our retail team, to be honest, I had some business partners. And last year, then we went through a really bad breaking up, if you will. They had decided last October that they were going to start a business, and I didn't find out about it until January. So I had to completely relaunch the whole retail division and the investing side from scratch, and which is okay. Gary Keller talks about this in Quantum Leap about not being afraid to fail. And I am so unafraid to fail. I was, for the first 10 years of my life, but now I don't care. People get caught up in where they live or what car they drive or what they're posting on social media. Can I cuss on this? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Be
I don't give
yourself.
I don't give a shit anymore. If you when you and it's fun when you got to start over, you can do things right the first way, or you can do things right that which you should have done the first time. So it really was a great experience. I proved a lot to myself who I was as a person, as a business leader, as a husband. So we recently got married last year, so it's been an interesting year for sure. It was a giant kick in the what. But yeah, we have the retail team. We're rocking and rolling. So we have two different models. We have our flat fee brokerage, which I would not suggest to everybody, but we also have our team. Our business model is we follow the Be Wealthy business model. You go on our team. You're in our office every day at 8:45 for your huddle. You're on the dialer, excuse me, at 9 o'clock. And your expectations for retail and for wholesale are 500 dials a day on the Mojo triple line dialer and 20 contacts. We always say 20 contacts a day keeps the IRS away. So let's
That's a good one.
we follow Brett's model to a T on that, and we had to rebuild from scratch, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and even I think Brett would attest to this. The more and more successful you get, the more and more you're going to have things blow up in your face sometimes. And I think it's how you react to those as a person and an individual and an organization that really defines who you are and what your future success will hold. You look at guys like Gary Keller right now. Gary Keller is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life and wisest, but his former CEO is suing him. And Gary probably didn't do anything wrong. Was there wrong in Keller Williams? I don't know. Knowing Gary, I would say Gary didn't do anything wrong. But Gary's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are coming after him because he's successful. And that's the more and more successful you're going to get, the more and more that's going to happen. So prepare yourself now if you're wanting to get on this mission that we are all on at Be Wealthy in building wealth. Stuff happens. So develop yourself as a person and as a leader to make sure that you can weather those storms.
That's exactly right. I heard, I was having a conversation actually with my mom last night, and she reminded me of something that she and my dad both said to us a lot growing up. And I was like, man, that rings more true now, as I'm older than ever before. You may not be in control of everything that happens to you, but you're 100% in control on the way that you react and the way that you pivot after things happen to you. You're 100% in control, good or bad. And so as soon as you take ownership of that, and as soon as you embrace that and realize you have all of the control, the better off you'll be. So I couldn't agree with you more on that, without question. Kyle, there's a lot of people in our mastermind group, and I'm looking at who, the great group we have here on this call, and everyone has at least one operating business in the real estate space that's really successful. I call it like batteries included. It's running and gunning. And then they're looking to build the additional monetization arms that you've done, right? So maybe they started with retail, then they launched wholesale, hard money lending. You've got a construction company, you've got a title company, you're launching insurance, you have a lending arm. How did you strategically decide what to launch when? And how did you embrace I think sometimes people look at like, oh, we're going to launch a whole nother business, it's going to be twice as crazy. How did you embrace, or how did you think through that such that you were able to launch all of these verticals to monetize the entire transaction? What should
I'm kind of a underthinker over actioner. I don't know if that's a term, but if I decide I'm going to do something, we're going to do it, and let's figure out the details later.
Sure.
My wife is the exact opposite, so that's why we're a perfect balance. But we had retail from I got in the business in 2006 until 2018, really, that we were just retail, 2017, 18. And then I got being a realtor for 10 years, when you're out showing homes and when it's freezing cold or 110 degrees. And I got to a certain point after 10 years in that where I was just being an agent. I didn't really have a business that I was following, a business model at that time, and just, trying to make commissions and make a living. You get burned out if you don't do it the right way. So what I'm getting back to is going back to the modeling. And Gary Keller gives every retail agent the key on how to make millions of dollars in that little red book. Get one thing going well first is what I would suggest, whether it's retail, whether it's wholesale, whether it's insurance or whatever. Get that as mastered as you can. You're never going to have it 100% mastered, but get very good at those. If you're an agent or a wholesaler, get very good at cold calling people, talking on the phone. Because if you're on the phone every day and you're getting shut down, well, you're getting stronger as a person, but your negotiating skills are getting much better as well. So do one thing at a time, do it very well before you go on to the next one, because I've had a lot of mistakes from that. But don't try to do 5 things at once. Get your retail team going or your wholesale team going, and then add on retail or add on wholesale would be my suggestion. Once you get that going, maybe tackle insurance or hard money lending. If you've got people that are loaning you money on your wholesale, well, they've probably got more money and more friends to loan out. So why not do hard money loans? Grow it slowly, do it right, so that you don't have to have your world rocked in the future, if that makes sense, because of the mistakes you made from growing too fast.
Yeah. Have a strong foundation first and then a systematic growth plan.
Yeah. Millionaire Real Estate Agent is awesome. A great, another book I would read is Profit First. Always make sure that you're paying yourself first and got money in the bank. I've learned that the hard way because we didn't do it correctly. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's super helpful. I think a lot of us, as we're starting to launch additional business lines, or maybe we're brand new to the group, we see business owners like yourself and go, oh my gosh, they have all of this built out already. All we see is the gap between ourselves and people who've modeled it out like yourself. And so to give someone a really specific plan of saying, hey, you're just building it one block at a time, I think is really, really helpful.
Well, and I get envy of that too. You see people and go, why don't we have what they have? It's just human nature. But you got to think about this. I did retail primarily just for 15 years before I even got in the investing side. And so I 2006, how many years is that? 18 now. So for 15, 10, 11, 12 years, let's just say 12 to find a happy median. For 12 years, I did nothing but retail real estate. And so for the last 6 years, it's really grown into all these aspects. So we laid the groundwork first, very slowly, and then built up. So it does take time. Now, if you had somebody give you $100 million, you could do a startup. You wouldn't be profitable for probably 2 or 3 years, but that's not the right way to do things.
Yeah.
And there's no way. I've got some friends. I've been very blessed. I have mentors. Some of these guys are billionaires, and what's with a B. And I don't know why God has put them in my life, but He has. And they're older, wiser gentlemen. They're always instilling me. Wealth doesn't come quickly. Wealth doesn't come quickly. And that's one thing that's I've really taken home since this market correction or change over the last year. Um, if it's worth it, it's going to take some time, and you got to do it right.
Mhm. Man, that rings so true to me. It's tough because we always want to have the shortcut. We always want to get there faster. We always
Human
want to
nature.
yeah.
I'm very good. I still look for it today, but then I have to ask myself some questions and say, does this align with my business model and my purpose and who I am as a person? And usually the shortcut answer is always no.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have obviously crushed it. That's why you're on this call. What would you say are three key things that have contributed to your success? I know you mentioned models.
Finding a good partner in life, my wife, number one.
How did you and
Uh,
she meet?
she seduced me at work. She was an escrow officer. Uh,
Shelly.
I always say that. It's a Mrs. Robinson, the graduate joke, but she was an escrow officer. I was an agent, and um, we just flirted back and forth at work. We were both single and had gone through some divorces before. And one night I asked her to a wine dinner, and the rest is history. I think, we were living together 6 months after that, engaged right after that, and got married. And we had a big, big, big wedding last year. So,
Beautiful wedding. Yeah.
um, so finding the right partner was number one. Number two, my favorite thing in the world is reading. I just I I try to read the entire book. I don't just take tidbits, but I love reading. I try to read a book a week. Um, I had to make the personal decision a couple 4 or 5 months ago that I was not being the best version of myself that I knew I could be inside. So I cut out alcohol, I cut out dairy, and I cut out gluten.
Wow.
Um, yeah, which, especially in my life, booze was a big social thing for us. I mean, every time we went to a mastermind or a vacation or going to, our country club right up the street here, you sit around, you have cocktails. That's what you do. And I just realized that I wasn't being the best person of myself that I could be. So I made a decision to cut those things out. And so my partner reading and, recently making sacrifices that I didn't necessarily want to give up, but I knew in my heart and in my mind that I needed to give up. And I sleep so much better. I feel so much better. I'm training for a 5K right now, which I'm turning into the person that I used to make fun of. Yeah, remember what I had at lunch when I was over at the office? Well, I have salads and healthy food now, and I shop at the health food store, and yeah, I'm trying.
No more meatloaf lunch.
No more meatloaf. I'm trying to be the best version that I can be, and it's selfish. It's twofold. It's I want to do great things. I don't feel I'm living up to potential that God is giving me. And number two, in order to grow this business or this empire, if you will, to where I feel I want it, I have to become the best version of myself so that I can show my people how to become the best versions of themselves so that they can teach their people how to be the best versions of themselves so that those people can teach. And it's just a pyramid effect from there.
Mhm.
And in order for me to, it's very humbling. I think back, I was thinking about it last night. The people that are in our office, I'm not responsible for just the 20 of them right now. I'm responsible for them, their spouses, their children, their grandchildren. So, you might have 5 or 6 people on a team or one or two person. If you're the leader of that organization, you're not just responsible for your life and your employees' lives. You're responsible, and it's a very humbling fact when you have, team member events and things, and everybody's there. And if you, as a leader, you go, "Wow, if I screw up, I'm really screwing over a lot of people." So
Yeah.
it's a big responsibility, and I don't take it lightly anymore. I did, and I screwed up a lot at first, but I don't anymore.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
The clarity and conviction and I'm so impressed. You've always been impressive in so many ways, but this new conviction of your responsibility. And you've mentioned this word a lot throughout the last 20 minutes, and that was your purpose. It's really inspiring. Scott, even good for you, man. You're going to crush life so much better. Good work.
Thank you. See you, buddy. I'll see you in a couple weeks.
How do you and Shelly balance things? So, you both have incredibly successful careers and you're both wildly driven. How do you balance life, work, your partnership? You guys like to travel. You have a home in Santa Barbara. You have so much in front of the two of you. How do you all balance that maybe some of us could learn from?
Well, we fight. We have discussions. And when Shelly is the hardest working woman I've ever met in my life. Um, she gets up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. She's at work at 7:30. She doesn't take a lunch, and she's home at 5. When we first met, she wasn't, home at time, and I had issues with that. And I learned after, my parents worked themselves to a divorce. They had the number one real estate team here in this county. We sold hundreds of homes. And I made a promise to myself. I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want work to consume me like it did my parents' relationship. And Shelley had it consumed with her. So, you know, we talk through things. We've done this for 2 or 3 years. We go to a marriage counselor once a week, or once a month. I think it's healthy. It's just, if you're going to have a coach in business, why don't you have a coach in marriage? We talk through things, and we don't work at home as much as possible. When it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, and we walk in that door from the office, we shut off work. So
Right.
finding our balance and really doing things together, and we read books together. We try to be the best versions of ourselves together. It's not always easy. Marriage is work, and you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So I didn't at first, but marriage is becoming the most important thing to me, more than business or more than the rest of my family. And I think that's really what God has designed it to be. It's a spiritual bond between two people that if you're living it, and look at Tanner and his wife, they're aspirational for me. I want to grow to that level, and I'm sure Brett has his heroes and mentors in that. But making a commitment together to grow together, and getting on. Shelly and I recently, we have a financial plan together. We have a growth plan together. So we're working together to have the goals that we both agreed on that we want to meet in life. Does that make sense?
100%. It's the same. It's so interesting because you've applied the same disciplines and vision and plans in your business world that you are in your personal world. And I think sometimes we favor one over the other in the way that we do that. And sometimes maybe we'll have a really, really strong business plan, but not really a personal one, and vice versa. But you seem equally strong in both categories, which is incredible.
As I tell my wife, I'm a work in progress, but I made a commitment to her that I would always put our marriage first before everything else. And so I'm going to, and I said, there's going to be stumbling blocks. I'm human. I'm going to F up, and it's probably going to be often because I'm a degenerate screw up, as I like to say. But um, I think Ed Milet said it best. He said, the most successful people in the world are the ones that continually commit and fulfill the promises they make to themselves. So I made a promise to myself to be the best version that I could be in business and as a husband. And if I don't do that, then I'm not only letting her down or my employees down, I'm letting myself down, more importantly.
Yeah. Well, you're wildly humble, I will say, Kyle.
Well,
So I'm
I've been humbled a lot of times, and I think that's a good thing. Every time, you think you're on top of the world, then you get kicked in the balls. And I think that's just God's way of reminding him, like, hey, whether you believe in God or whatever higher power, it's the universe's way of saying you think you're in charge, but you're not.
Pride cometh before the fall, as
There
they
you
say.
go.
Well, that leads me into one of my favorite questions to ask because, we see so much success all of the time, but it's really success shapes us, but it's really our failures that make huge opportunities for us. So, how has a failure or apparent failure of yours set you up for later success? Do you have like a favorite failure?
There's too many to the list, Caitlin. Um, a favorite failure. I mean, it goes back to every aspect. I've got them in every aspect of my life multiple times. If I didn't have, if my first marriage didn't fail, I wouldn't be married to this amazing woman that I am today. If my parents' marriage didn't fail, I wouldn't have the business that I did today because I'd probably just be a real estate agent still. Um, if my business partners didn't want to, decide to start their own business last year, then my company, I wouldn't be growing to the person that I am today. There's a lot of failures. I don't necessarily have a favorite, but a lot of little failures. It's kind of like the one thing domino effect. These little failures keep adding up to this really big, fun life. And yeah, it's stressful sometimes, but um, this I don't have a favorite, but there's a lot of failures, and don't ever be scared to fail. I certainly was at first, but uh, people always worry about what the car they're going to drive or the house they're going to have or whatever, because it's their ego, and they're trying to, as my father would say, impress people they don't know with money they don't have, and or your friends or your family. Well, I had a conversation with my mother back in 2011 or 12, and she had pulled me into the conference room at Keller Williams, and I was a young kid with my head up my ass, and I was not doing things the way I should. But I looked at her. I said, "Mom, are you writing my mortgage now? Are you paying my bills?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but you don't have the right to tell me how to live my life anymore. And until people are willing to pay your bills, I don't think they have a right to tell you how to live their life. And you sure as shit shouldn't care what they're thinking."
Yeah, that's 100% true.
So
Um,
I didn't answer your question, but a lot of failures and a lot of mistakes. And I'm 35 years old, but my liver's 75 from being in real estate for 20 years. So I've screwed up a lot, a lot. And actions have consequences. I have to remind myself I am not the person that I have set out on my goals, because I have not become the person I need to be to reach those goals.
Kyle, I have to tell you, if there's one thing that I want to take away from this conversation and implement in my life, it's more. It's the acknowledgement that the failures will happen, the failures will exist, but what we do with that is what makes the big difference. I think if there's one thing anyone on this call can take away from it, it would be that, because you have implemented that at such a high level.
Yep. Yep. It's
Thank
yep.
you.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to pivot to kind of a funny one.
Okay.
So, what is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love? We have had, just so you know, Kyle, the most wild answers to this, including but not limited to fillet of fish. So, what is an absurd habit or thing that you love?
Um, there's a lot of things that I love. I I don't have an absurd habit. I mean, I quit biting my nails a couple months ago. That was really nasty. 35-year-old man sitting there going like that. It's like, dude, bad. Um,
Jerky.
yeah. I am OCD bad. I don't have children for this reason, because I have to have everything perfect in my house. My car is clean, my house is always clean. We have three dogs. But I my parents took me to a therapist when I was a kid because they thought I was really, really bad and wanted, to find out what the hell was going on with me, because I was vacuuming the house every day at like 10, 11 years old. I like everything perfect, and it's I wouldn't say I'm anal because I couldn't balance a checkbook. I have to have my CFO or my wife do that, but I have to have everything clean. And I hate
That's a good one.
human I hate human hair. I cannot stand it. So I am a hotel snob, not because I need to know that that hotel is clean. I will pay $2,000 a night to stay in a hotel to make sure that it is going to be clean. And that's what really grosses me out. As far as habits, my wife says I'm a very big creature of habit. So I eat at the same restaurant like 3 to 4 days a week. I sit at the bar, I text the bartender and say, on my way in. It takes me 18 minutes to get there from my office. I sit there, I have lunch, and I'm out the door about 20 minutes later. My Diet Coke is waiting for me when I sit there. Is that a creature of habit? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, and when we go over the coast, we eat at the same damn restaurants every time anyways. So um, I'm very much a creature of habit and odd things. Yeah, I don't have anything other than human hair. I get grossed out. I'm
You gave
germaphobe.
us some good ones. You
Yeah.
hate human hair,
Yep.
and you were about 10 years old, just vacuuming like a crazy person.
Mhm.
Eat lunch at the same place, order the same food. You have some quirks about you, my friend.
Oh, I do. I do
Yeah,
for sure.
that's funny. You mentioned you really love to read. So what are some of the books that you recommend most or have gifted to people most in the past few years?
Um, I've been really getting into life insurance policies the past 3 or 4 months. I've read every book I can on that. Um,
Whole life?
yeah, I like to say I know more about life insurance policies than the people selling them now. Um, I'm really big into business books. I don't read a lot of fiction. I love Hemingway, but I only read one fiction book a year. But I am so business book driven. Anything, always read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That's the stepping stone. But Unlimited Power with Tony Robbins, probably my second favorite book by Think and Grow Rich. But those are the staples. But um, what is a book that has changed my life lately? Um, I don't know. There's so many, Caitlin. Let me circle back on that. Orangutan. No, let me circle back on that.
Perfect. I've got a whole bunch of other questions for you, so we can
Okay.
definitely circle back. And you gave us some great ones. I think Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins is just absolutely incredible. And if anyone's on this call that hasn't read that yet, that's a great one to dive into.
It
Uh,
is. It is. It's in all aspects of your life that it covers. Um,
I also like what you just said, Kyle, where when you look at books to read, you're looking at them of what do you want to learn about. So I think so often we see other people's reading list, and so we're like, oh, we'll just read all of these. And a lot of them can be business motivation books, which are fantastic. But when you want to really research something or learn something to say, okay, whole life insurance and understanding how to utilize infinite banking in my life, I want to learn about that. You do
mhm.
exactly what Brett does, which is what are the top 20 to 40 books on this so that I can become the expert in it and self-study. And I think that is a cool habit that I have tried to take from Brett. I'm going to try to take it from you. And I think a lot of us can implement it here. I think so often we get all over the place in what we read and what we research, and just the effort of, hey, I'm reading, or hey, so and so loved this book, I'll try it too. And instead to take it as a true study of I'm going to become the expert. I think that's so cool. I love it.
Well, read with purpose, like you do everything else in life.
Right.
So I wish I look back. I didn't graduate college. I'm 3 classes short of graduating with my bachelor's degree. And I look back and say, man, if I would have liked to read like I do now, I would have finished in 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's definitely true. What do you think pivoted for you in that way?
In regards to what reading,
Mhm.
um, I don't know. So just 5 or 6 years ago, I woke up and um, let's take it back. When I had my burnout in real estate at 27, 28 years old, um, I I looked at my fiance and I said, "Sweetheart, I'm done working for my parents. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to take some time off and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. And she said, okay. Why is she still with me to this day? I question her sanity sometimes, but she was there for me and supported me. So I reread The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. It was the first book I read when I decided I wasn't going to be a full-time realtor anymore. And I was reading about wholesaling, and I was like, oh my God, you can do that. I was like, why have I never heard of this before? And so then I wrote, I had zero marketing budget back then. And what I did was I hand wrote yellow letters because that was what we were taught back then. You know, hi, then my name's Kyle. I want to buy your house. And I was writing 25, 30 letters a day on the kitchen table that I broke because I was writing so hard. The table got off balance. And we keep that kitchen table over there just as a reminder of, you know, sometimes there can be bad times. Um, but I was listening to podcasts, and I listened to guys like Kent Clothier, and I listened to Sean Terry and whoever else free content I could get at that time. And I'd write my letters and send them off. So about 3 weeks later, I got a call, and greatest transaction still to my, and I've sold multi-million-dollar houses, and I'll remember this one till the day that I die. Get a call. We put a trailer 2 hours away, a mobile home on land under contract for $12,500. 2 weeks later, I sold that property for $25,000. I was joint venturing on that. I got a check for $3,400. So the greatest check I've ever received in my life. That was my first wholesaling. And so when I read that book and realized I didn't know what wholesaling was, it was humbling. And I said, I don't know what a lot of this shit is, and I got to figure it out. And so that's probably when I changed into becoming a reader. And, you know, I'm a delegator at home. I do laundry because of my OCD, but I'm a licensed contractor, and I don't swing hammers. I don't, I don't do manual labor. And my wife took her about 8 years, but she finally understands that. So I read on the weekends, and I spend, we go to lunch, we go to breakfast, we go to dinner, we go on walk and exercise or over to the pool at the club here, but I'm reading. And I try to read 2 newspapers a day. I read the Wall Street Journal and our local paper, but I try to read at least 50 pages a day of a book. And that's when it changed, when I realized that I don't know what I thought I knew, and I needed to learn more. And I think books are the greatest way to do that. And, there's YouTube now. Everything, let's put it this way. Everything that we need in this world to succeed is somewhere out there, and it's free.
How do you determine your models, meaning, or your heroes? So if you're looking at the books to read, or the people to listen to, or the YouTubes to listen to, or when you found Kent, when you were learning those pieces, when you were picking those mentors, whether they know they know that they're your mentor, or it's someone you're following. How do you pick those?
I don't know if I picked them. I think they were just put in my world when I was ready for them.
Okay.
I've been to a lot of masterminds. I've known Brett for a long, long time, longer than you, probably longer than anybody in this group. Back when he was a newer agent at Keller, the 2005 and 6 days. But we didn't really have a relationship that we do now until the last couple of years, probably because I wasn't ready for it. And he wasn't the person he is today 10 years ago, he wasn't the person then that he is today. So I think we're growing and evolving. Kent was obviously the biggest, or actually it was Sean Terry was the first person I went to. I listened to his first podcast, and it really resonated with me. And then I started going from there. Then I got in boardroom, and just getting into masterminds and surrounding myself with exceptional people, which a lot of people in this group are. We're in the room at the right time that God intends us to be there, I think, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it. So I haven't necessarily I haven't gone out and said, hey, you're going to be my new hero or my new mentor. I don't think it's really worked that way. It's just, I've tried to deep dive everything I can about those people's businesses. And when the time is right for me to go sit down and meet with them, I do that. Now, in a couple of weeks, I'm not going to say his name, but there's a person in our mastermind group who's doing exceptionally well in one of his fields right now. I am paying him $10,000 to go spend a day with him next month after our mastermind to go model his business plan. So I'm going to pay him 10,000. I'm going to get $1 million worth of education out of it. So that is a shortcut worth taking.
Yep. I 100% agree with that.
And when we last year, you were there, we came over to your office, spent the day, and really, we were just doing the wholesale at that point in a sense. So we decided we're going to start doing this. We're going to start doing, the retail, the insurance, the lending, et cetera, et cetera. So that really the business really hasn't blown up like it has more than in the past year since we went and modeled you guys.
You've done a very good job of one thing I will say is you have done an incredible job at implementation. You take ideas, you take thoughts, and then you take incredible action. And I think that's really, if there's a piece we can all take, it's definitely that as well.
And thank you for that. I appreciate that. And also, I say this, I'm a bad business person. I'm a great visionary. Like I said, I can't balance a checkbook. If it wasn't for my wife, my credit score would probably be in the 500s. It's not because there's not money there. It's just that the bills don't get paid on time because that's not in my wheelhouse. But having great people in your organization that make you look good too. So it's not just I just come up with the ideas and I try to find people that are a lot better at me at implementing those ideas.
How do you attract those people into your space?
We pay them a shit ton of money. No, it's I do pay people very well, probably more than I should. But my father always taught me pay people as much as you can afford. So we've got people that have been part of our organization. I got two ladies that worked for my parents. So we're talking almost 20 years. And they're paid very well. One of them has a car, one of them has a corporate house. So we try to take care of our people. And I think when you do that, your recruiting becomes a lot easier because people are saying, wow, what's going on over there? Those people are really happy. They're kicking ass. Or look at their production. And that helps. But I failed so miserably until the last 8 or 9 months of becoming the person I needed to be to grow this thing out. I've got a sign above my desk, and Brett has one too. It says future billionaire. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but I'm sure as hell going to work towards becoming the best person that I can be to maybe one day have that opportunity to be there. And when you're doing that and you're constantly working on yourself and becoming a leader, I think you will attract people that you need. And, like I said a minute ago, I knew Brett 15 years ago. I didn't get with him until the last couple of years. So it wasn't until I became the person that I needed to become in order to get in that room with those people.
Well, I am so excited to continue to watch your business grow and to watch your whole world grow. Being able to see what you've accomplished in the last 12 months has been incredible, and seeing what you are poised to have the geometric and catapult of your future business growth is the position you're sitting in today is incredibly poised for massive success. And I am so excited to know you and to get to see this journey and this next chapter for you. I'm thrilled. And I know you have a lot of friends on this call who are really thrilled and excited for you too.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to seeing everybody in a couple of weeks. Hopefully there will be some meatloaf there. So
I'm not sure that we have meatloaf on the menu, but I'll take a look and report back.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. We'll look forward to seeing you here just in a couple weeks. And if anyone wants to reach out to Kyle, he is an open book. And as you can tell, incredibly humble and incredibly kind. And I know several people in the group that he has developed really beautiful friendships and relationships with. And I would encourage you, if you don't know Kyle yet, reach out to him and he will become a great friend. I can tell you.
Yeah,
that.
I'm on Facebook, and if you want my cell phone, I'll give that out too. I can't promise I'll get back to you quickly, but I do get back to people. So if you need to get a hold of me, it's 661-330-9863.
Perfect. Well,
All
thank
right,
you,
Tiffany.
Kyle. We appreciate it, and we'll see you in just a couple weeks. Everyone have a
Awesome.
great day.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.